How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be going over my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC 303, Pereira vs. Procházka 2 on June 29th, 2024. Let's get right into it with the first fight of 13. We start in the bantamweight division, Ricky Simón versus Vinicius Oliveira. I'm going to go with Vinicius Oliveira, and hear me out. This fight, it really just... The whole argument in this fight is if you believe that Ricky Simón is going to be able to hold down and control Vinicius Oliveira, which seemingly it seems like he might be able to do. But I'm going to preposition this. Vinicius Oliveira, in the fight with Bernardo Sapai, only got held down for 4 minutes. In my mind, when I rewatched that fight, I can't rewatch it, but in my memory, I thought that Bernardo really held him down for longer. But Vinicius Oliveira also had some control time of his own. He's not that bad defensive grappling, but that's kind of his weakness, is his takedown defense. Ricky Simón, in my opinion, hasn't looked all that great as of recent. It's also going to be a heavy size advantage for Vinicius Oliveira. I wonder if he's going to struggle with a weight cut going into this fight. But Vinicius has mean power, hits hard as shit, and we've seen Ricky Simón get knocked down by lesser strikers. I mean, Uriah Faber, I know it was an early stoppage, but he sent Ricky Simón packing, right? I know that was forever ago, 5 years ago, Jesus. But also, like, he's been knocked down by not great people. Like, he's struggled with not great people. Like, he's taken Brian Kelleher to decision. You know what I mean? Like, come on, dude. Who's the only other guy? Cody Stamann brought him to decision. What about every other fight, every other loss in the UFC was by finish? He's the only guy in the UFC to bring him to decision and win by decision. So, yeah. That's not my argument. I also believe that Vinicius Oliveira makes dog fights out of people. He makes it not pretty, and that's where he shines, is in not pretty fights. I think that when you look at it, also the weapons that drop and hurt Ricky Simón, where he's open to these shots, are the weapons that Vinicius Oliveira uses so fucking much. And also, I think that a knee could really help out Vinicius. He throws them pretty often. He might be able to catch Ricky dipping in to like a fucking knee. So, I think if you're going to bet on this fight, I think you should probably bet with Ricky Simón on the chance that he's able to hold down and able to control Vinicius Oliveira. But I just think that Vinicius Oliveira, his finishing ability is too high not to pick him against a guy who we've seen has weird responses to punches in certain areas. I mean, Uriah Faber knocked this guy out in 46 seconds and did a world of damage to him. So I just think that Vinicius Oliveira, his quick twitch ability, he makes dog fights out of people. There's going to be a crowd. Ricky Simón, I think he might be able to get drawn into kind of a dog fight and end up getting clipped for it. And also, Vinicius Oliveira, he might get knocked out in this fight, if I'm being honest. All 3 of his losses are by KO, and they're all pretty bad. Well, not all of them. One of them was a doctor stoppage, but the other 2 are pretty bad. So I think that this is a barn burner of a fight to start the card, by the way. I think I'm picking Vinicius Oliveira first round KO. I just think even if it goes to decision, I think it might be close on damage. I think Vinicius Oliveira does a lot of damage in positions where he shouldn't be able to, but he still finds a way to do so. So I'm picking Vinicius Oliveira. We move to Ray Saruya versus Carlos Hernandez. I'm going to go Ray Saruya by first or second round submission. Listen, Ray Saruya, he's very young, only 22 years old, but this dude, his grappling is something fucking special. I'll tell you that much. His grappling is honestly very impressive. And Carlos Hernandez, we've seen him entertain the grappling, even though it's mostly his striking that gets him where he wants to go in his fights. He kind of allows himself to lull himself into going into grappling with certain people. And I've seen people get in positions that Ray Saruya is able to dominate in the grappling. This kid's like a fucking parasite. When he gets a hold of you, it is incredibly difficult to get him off. And even though he looks like a 15-year-old schoolboy, This dude's fucking menacing on the ground. He's in like an octopus. We've seen him attack like twisters, get back position. His body triangle is razor fucking tight. And he goes for certain, like, of course, in his last fight, he against, who was that against? Let me try and find the name. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, but the fight where he goes for, like, a modified guillotine, and he's, like, it looks like he's ripping this dude's fucking head almost off. Like, this kid, he doesn't care about bodily harm. He goes for everything. He has 4 finishes in each category, 4 KOs, 4 submissions. He's only went to decision once, and it was against the Mark guy on Road to UFC. And he dominantly won that fight. I'll tell you this, though. Ray Saruya, his striking is a little iffy. If Carlos Hernandez is going to have a lot of success, it's going to be in dominant clinch positions, because we've seen Carlos Hernandez have decent judo throws. I don't think he'd be able to go for those against a guy like Ray. But if he wants to get dominant ground and pound off, Carlos Hernandez is powerful. Also on the feet, we've seen Ray Saruya have weird reactions to strikes. So if Carlos Hernandez is to keep this fight standing, we might be able to see a finish for him against a guy like Ray, because we've also seen Ray get dropped on the road to UFC. It was not really a drop, more of he like ran right into a fucking head kick going for a takedown, and it looked like he went out for a sec, but then he immediately started shooting for a single leg and ended up getting this dude's back. So Ray Saruya, he's a parasite that keeps parasiting. I don't know how that works, but yeah, I don't think Carlos Hernandez, we've seen people get in dominant positions on him, and I think Ray Saruya is a guy that can get to dominant positions fairly easily. So, Ray Saruya, first or second round sub. I think he might be able to get a rear naked choke on Carlos Hernandez. What was the one submission that someone had on Carlos Hernandez? He has one loss by sub. What was it? It was a rear naked choke against Alan Nascimento. So he also gives up his back quite a bit. We've seen him struggle on the bottom. So, yeah, that's what I'm going with. We move to Andrei Arlovski versus Martin Buday. I'm going to go with Martin Buday in this one. Martin Buday, his style, while Andrei Arlovski can cause maybe some issues, because he's 45 fucking years old, man. Dude, come on. Coming off back-to-back losses, one of which was a KO and the other was it's honestly a close decision with fucking Salsa Boy Waldo Cortez Acosta, which that's not a good thing. But Martin Buday, his style, listen, prior to the Shamil Gaziev fight, right, before the blob blobbed all over Martin Buday, before Buday was known as blob victim number 1, he was on a 4-fight run in the UFC. Now, while one of them was a massive robbery against Lucas Brzezinski, in a fight where he battled a guy who was quicker than him and moved away from him, which is a fight that Andrei Arlovski can make. Dude, like, he's 45. Dude, if Andrei Arlovski wins a fight in 2024, I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore, man. Like, that should not happen. He's 40, he's almost fucking 50 in the octagon. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Martin Buday, his style, honestly, is not entertaining whatsoever, but it's effective. He basically, like, puts all his weight on people and breaks them. He also has some good grappling, and we've seen Andrei Arlovski face difficulties in guys who are able to consistently get takedowns on him. Not consistently, but able to get him down. They almost immediately get into good positions. Like, Tom Aspinall got into a pretty fucking dominant position on him. And also, I feel like you can just hold him in the clinch. Andrei Arlovski, he may have, like, dad strength, but, like, Martin Buday is a pretty strong guy. I mean, the more I'm looking at this fight, the more I want to fucking pick Andrei Arlovski just for the fuck of it, but I'm kind of done doing that now. I did that for a while, and it actually worked. On that 4-fight run that he had, how many fights was it in a row that he fucking won somehow at like 43? He won Chase Sherman, Carlos Felipe, Jared Vandera, Jay Collier. He won 4 fights in a fucking row. It's 3 losses in a row. Oh, wow. 2 by finish. Yeah, I also think that the chin of Andre is not there anymore. Like 12 losses by KO? Dude. Come the fuck on. I know the Blob broke Martin Buday last time, but like, dude, come on. I'll go Martin Buday first or second round TKO, probably by ground and pound. But, dude, if Andrei Arlovski wins, I don't know what the fuck's going on. We move to Michelle Waterson-Gomez versus Jillian Robertson. Close, if I'm being honest. I'm going to go with Jillian Robertson. But this fight, honestly, is going to be pretty close, if I'm being honest. It's so weird with Jillian Robertson because she's been in the UFC since she was like fucking 22. So everyone thinks that she's so old. In fact, she's only 29. She's starting to actually get into those prime years. Michelle Waterson-Gomez, of course, hasn't had the best run that we'd like to have in the UFC. Of course, in her last 7, she's 1-6. So she started out with like a 5-2 record and then just started fucking piling on losses. Of course, to really solid competition. But what we notice in these fights, Jillian Robertson, this fight is kind of like a yin and yang. Michelle Waterson-Gomez might have the striking advantage. Jillian Robertson, while sloppy, not sloppy, but she doesn't have the best technique. She kind of fights her way into grappling positions. Michelle Waterson-Gomez also kind of finds herself in grappling positions herself, shooting takedowns herself. So I honestly think that we could see Jillian Robertson maybe pulling guard and getting a armbar off of her back, possibly. If I'm being honest, her whole thing is grappling, right? That's basically what she's really good at. It's what she does best. It's hard to dictate these things, but also it's like she got a win over Rose in a grappling match. Like, she choked out Rose in like a minute. You know what I mean? So I kind of struggle to believe like she'll struggle with the grappling of like Michelle Waterson-Gomez. The offensive wrestling possibly could play a part in this because Jillian Robertson's offensive wrestling isn't greatest. But I just think that Michelle Waterson-Gomez, she's so old, man. 38 for WMMA is getting there. You know what I mean? And she's looked just worse and worse in every performance. Like, up to date. Like, besides Luana Pinheiro, like, she's kind of getting fucking toasted by these ladies. And I know it's really good competition. Like, Tisha Pennington, Rose, Joanna, Carla Esparza, Marina Rodriguez twice, Lemos. Luana Pinheiro is not a great loss, but that was a close fight. So, what do you know? She's been subbed 4 times. Why not one more? You know what I mean? It's like, why not one more? So if this fight goes to decision, it's most likely going to go to Michelle Waterson-Gomez. If there is a finish in the fight, I'm going with Jillian Robertson. We move to Peyton Talbot versus Yanis Ghemmouri. I'm going to go with Peyton Talbot, obviously. I think he might be one of the biggest favorites in UFC history, if I'm being honest. If Yanis Ghemmouri ends up winning this, I think this will be like the second place for biggest upsets in UFC history, because I think the number one is like plus 950. Was it when like Maria Agapova lost or whatever? Bullshit. Anyways, let's get to the fight. Yanis Ghemmouri did not impress me whatsoever in his William Gomez fight. Super low output. Doesn't throw a lot out there. Most of his striking comes from his lead leg, and most of them are leg kicks. He does throw a bit of grappling in there. I just think that Peyton Talbot's going to wipe the floor with this guy. Yanis Ghemmouri, I mean, he did a whole lot of jack shit in that William Gomez fight. Like, and I get that William Gomez, did he take that on short notice? I'm almost confident he did, right? Like, I have a feeling that he did. I have a feeling that he took that on. Yeah, it was short notice. But, like, that doesn't mean that you can just throw fucking 80 strikes in a 3-round fight and 50 of them are leg kicks. You know what I mean? Like, his hand striking, I'll give Giannis Gamori this. He's pretty quick. Got quite a bit of speed with his kicks. He doesn't just throw leg kicks. He throws, like, teeps to the body sometimes. But most of his attacks are low. And Peyton Talbot, of course, released that YouTube video. If you guys want to see nutty content that just makes no sense, go to Peyton Talbot's account. It's one of the weirdest editing styles I've ever seen in my life. But he was like, if he wants to beat me, kick my legs. And I think Peyton Talbot realized that Giannis Gamori, all he really does is leg kick. He does mix in grappling, of course, so he's not just, like, kicking legs, but his hand striking isn't too great. I just think that Peyton Talbot, his pressure-heavy style, like, I hate the term marauder, right? Because people like Joe Rogan make it so fucking cringy. This guy's a marauder, man. This guy knows no bounds. But that's kind of what Peyton Talbot's style is. He walks forward because he's got a chin on him, and he beats the shit out of people. We've seen better grapplers struggle against Peyton Talbot and controlling him down. And I just don't think Giannis Gamori is going to be the guy to fraud check Peyton Talbot. Now, do I believe Peyton Talbot will get fraud checked? If I'm being honest, probably. His chin is kind of in the air at moments, and he's in a division where there are some guys with some heavy pop in their shots, but Peyton Talbot mixes it up pretty well. And he's so calm. When he fought Cameron Simon, I compared him to Christian Rodriguez, who was a guy that beat Cameron Simon before. Something that Peyton Talbot has that a lot of people don't is calmness. He's so calm in situations. He reads them so perfectly. He times people. His precision and timing is pretty damn fucking good. And Giannis Gamori just seems like a guy that Peyton Talbot should be able to time pretty fucking easily. So I'll go Peyton Talbot. I'll go second round TKO. I don't think he's going to be able to put him away in the first, because Giannis Gamori, he doesn't leave his chin out there, but I think he's going to get broken down and go down in the second. We move to Charles Jourdain versus João Silva. I'm going to go with João Silva, if I'm being honest. This fight, again, a really kind of weird fight to pick on, because João Silva, this fight is really weird. I know I've just said that, but let me rephrase that again. Charles Jourdain, listen, his wins inside the UFC are not against great competition. Let me make that clear. He has not beat one really good person in the UFC. Let's make that abundantly clear. He's fought a bunch of decent competition. Guys like Nathaniel Wood, Shane Burgos, not Julian Erosa, but like Sean Woodson, like Andre Philly. He fought Doo Ho Choi when he was decent, I guess. Nah, not really. That was on his losing streak. Jesus fucking Christ. João Silva, I'm basing this fight off of damage. I have to. Because that's what the scoring criteria is. I think that João Silva is going to be able to do more damage than Charles Jourdain is. Charles Jourdain can go for rounds on rounds on rounds. He's got good cardio for sure. But, like, João Silva is going to get in his fucking face. It's going to be two battles of two guys with pressure, because that's kind of what both these guys are good at. They're good at pressuring and beating the dog piss out of their opponents. And we're going to see whose will is stronger in this fight, and I think João Silva's is a little bit. João Silva, all his losses are earlier in his career. We've seen Charles Jourdain lose even now. João Silva, he has insane power in his fucking fists. What, 9 KOs is it? 9 KOs. If this fight goes to decision, I am leaning even more towards João Silva. If I'm being off of damage, I think João Silva is going to be able to inflict more damage on Charles Jourdain, because Charles Jourdain, he doesn't really reflect damage. His nose kind of gets busted up a little bit. But besides that, he doesn't really welt up or nothing. Charles Jourdain has a chin on him. But he also, Charles Jourdain, to knock people out in recent memory, he kind of needs to pile on damage. And I just don't think that he's going to be able to pile up damage on a guy like João Silva. I think João Silva is pretty wild, but I think that he's what's the word I'm trying to look for here? He's careful enough not to get clipped by a guy like Charles Jourdain, if you know what I mean. And also, we've seen João Silva deal with a guy with a reach advantage over him in Weston Wilson, and he fared pretty well. So, João Silva, it's a very close fight, but I think that he's going to be able to do a lot more damage. And honestly, the way that Charles Jourdain should be able to try and go at this fight is honestly going for like his legs, is going for leg kicks and going for takedowns, if I'm being honest. But I don't think Charles Jourdain is going to do that. So I'll go with João Silva. I'll go split decision because I don't think he's going to be able to finish because Charles Jourdain has a pretty fucking hard head on him. I'll go João Silva by split decision 29-28. We move to Cub Swanson versus Andre Fili. Again, pretty close fight on paper. I'm going to go with Andre Fili, I guess. I don't know. Andre Fili, it's kind of like a Johnny Walker pick because Andre Fili's been KO'd quite a bit recently. His chin is kind of... But the guys that are knocking out Andre Fili, you know what I mean, are fucking dangerous strikers. Dan Ige, fucking Joe Anderson Brito. Yair Rodriguez was the other one, right? Yeah, Yair Rodriguez. And then he lost. Who else knocked him out? I'm looking for it. Who was the other knockout that he had on his... And then that's it. Probably his first loss against Derek Burns said. It doesn't say, but like, it's really dangerous strikers who are a bit wild and who have a lot of pop in their fucking hands that are knocking out Andre Fili. Also, Andre Fili's been fighting pretty fucking decent competition recently, like Bill Algeo, Joe Anderson Brito, Daniel Pineda, Bryce Mitchell. Like, he's going to decisions with guys like this. He's fighting really good competition. Not saying that Cub Swanson isn't, because Cub Swanson last time I was fighting Hakeem Dawodu. But like, when you look at the guys that Cub is beating, it's not too great. Also, I feel like Cub's coming off so many injuries, man. Like, so many knee injuries, so many just health risks. You know what I mean? And Andre Fili does have decent low kicks, from what I remember. He throws it out there. I also think Andre Fili is just a more technical striker. I like his speed in this fight. I like his ones and twos. And up to that point in the Dan Ige fight, from what I remember, I could probably be remembering wrong, it wasn't too bad. And then Dan Ige caught him and slept him for good. So I think that this fight is going to be close. It's going to be competitive. I think Andre Fili is going to drag it to a dogfight. And I think the judges are going to lean more towards Cub. But on damage, I think on damage you just can't rule out Andre Fili in this fight. I'll go Andre Fili. I know I already said that. But I'll go unanimous decision 30-27. Even though I think the judges are going to look for any reason to give Cub Swanson this decision. I like the range. I also... What's the leg reach in this fight? Cub's got tiny legs, don't he? Not tiny legs, but he's got a leg reach advantage, arm reach advantage. Cub kind of needs a lunge in for his attacks to work, and Andre Fili subbed in on short notice against Dan Ige last time out. Whenever we see Andre Fili with a full camp, he looks pretty good. So, Andre Fili, unanimous decision. We move to the featured prelim, Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriault. I'm going to go with Joe Pyfer. I don't know if he finishes Marc-Andre Barriault. I mean, the one time we saw Marc-Andre Barriault was get knocked out was by Chidi Njokuani, who hits pretty fucking hard. But of course, Joe Pyfer, on video, beat Ngannou's record on the punch machine there at the PI. So I don't know how hard this guy fucking hits, even though we've never seen him really send anyone to the Shadow Realm yet. Besides that one knockout on, like, the contender, not in the contender, but in, like, he folded this dude on the regionals. Anyways, yeah, I just think that Marc-Andre, he's not really old. He's only 34, but he's taken a lot of damage because he's kind of a brute, kind of barges forward. I think that Joe Pyfer can honestly try and wrestle a little bit in this fight with Marc-Andre. Marc-Andre does have good takedown defense. I think he's got like a 60-something in the UFC. But, like, what was Anthony Hernandez's percentage on this guy? When him and good old Fluffy fought. I'm going to try and find that right now. Sandhagen. So he went 8 of 14. So Anthony kind of just fucked this dude up. Even though he's overrated. Anyways, that's besides the point. He kind of just gets into brawls with people, man. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all in a fight with a guy like Joe Pyfer, who's willing to trade as well and who packs a fucking sack lunch for you after he KOs you. I mean, Joe Pyfer, I think a lot of people are underestimating him going into this fight because he's coming off the Jack Hermanson loss. But let's keep it a fucking $150, okay? Joe Pyfer, even though he's a little salty, it is what it is. You got to have a little salt on you to live in the UFC. He got 2 rounds off of Jack Hermanson, and he dropped the last 3, which is fine. Marc-Andre Barriault gets fucked up by Jack Hermanson. Let's keep it a buck. Marc-Andre, this is a huge step down in competition for a guy like Joe Pyfer. I think he can wrestle Marc-Andre a little bit. And when they're striking, I think Marc-Andre is a little bit more technical. I like his 1s and 2s a little better. Joe Pyfer does have a nice jab, though. Marc-Andre may be a little bit more technical, but when it comes to brawling, which is the style Marc-Andre Barriault uses most, he isn't even the best brawler in the fight. So I'll go Joe Pyfer unanimous decision. I'll say 29-28. Because I think Joe Pyfer's going to throw a lot in those first 2 rounds. Marc-Andre might be able to find his way back in the third. But if the fight does end in a finish, it's going to be Joe Pyfer for sure. We move to the start of the main card. Ian Machado Gary versus Michael Venom Page. If you guys watched my previous video, fights that I think won't be competitive, I'm picking Ian Gary. I just don't think Michael Venom Page's style of playing at range and then rushing in is going to work well against a guy like Ian Gary, who is able to time he has precision, he has timing, and he has a pretty good amount of speed. The difference between Ian Gary and Kevin Holland is speed. I love Kevin Holland to death, but let's be honest, he's kind of fucking slow. All right, with the striking a little bit. He's a little fucking slow and labored. Ian Gary's young. He's 26 years old. He's got the confidence of a fucking, I don't even know what to compare him to, but he's got insane confidence. I also think Ian Gary could mix in clinching and grappling a little bit into this fight. Michael Venom Page, we've seen most of what he struggles with in that one fight, and his only other loss besides was it Diego Lima? Was it Diego or Douglas? I always forget. I think it's Douglas Lima, right? It's Douglas, isn't it? It is Douglas Lima. Diego Lima fucking sucked. Why did I think it was Diego? Anyways, we move. And then Logan Storley, who isn't great. Since the Michael Venom Page fight, he's gone 1-2. So, there's that. I just think Ian Gary isn't going to fall for any of the traps that Michael Venom Page sets. And I honestly think this fight could be a little boring. Guru said it pretty perfectly that this fight can honestly be dictated by who does the most out of nothing. Because both these guys kind of tend to have a more laid-back style at moments, like Ian Gary, especially in the Jeff Neal fight, wasn't throwing much. Kind of looking more for like knees and elbows when Jeff Neal tried to find his way in with his lack of reach, or his reach disadvantage. Michael Venom Page, yeah, I don't know. I'm still not sold on him yet. Being honest. He beat Kevin Holland, whoop-de-doo. That's awesome. What else have you done? You know what I mean? If he beats Ian Gary, I'm going to be massively impressed. But I think Ian Gary in the UFC has beaten better fighters than Kevin Holland. If I'm being honest. Like Jeff Neal, I think is a better fighter than Kevin Holland. Even though Kevin Holland beat Jeff Neal on the regional scene. But, you know. But, yeah, Ian Gary, I think he's also pretty sharp. Got decent head movement. Besides, like, his first fight against the fucking, what was his name? God, what was his name? I'm gonna have to look at it, but what was it? Jordan Williams. He has that weird fucking chest tattoo. And then the knockdown against, Kenan Song. We haven't really seen him face a shit ton of adversity. I think he won the Jeff Neal fight pretty clearly, even though it was a split decision. I gave it 2-1 to him. I think he can honestly cause problems in the clinch for a guy like Michael Venom Page, who, when he is in the clinch, he does look like a fish out of water at times. Do I think he'll shoot for takedowns? I don't think Ian Gary will. Has Ian Gary ever shot a takedown in his life in the UFC? He has, and he has a 75% takedown accuracy. Might have a new route for him there. But yeah, I think Ian Gary's just going to win a unanimous decision, 30-27. I think this fight honestly could be very boring or a very intelligent kickboxing match. And Michael Venom Page, while he is the more credentialed kickboxer, he is old. He is 37. He is very quick, but at a low output when he isn't throwing as much, when he isn't getting put on the back foot as much. Ian Gary's going to do all these things to Michael Venom Page, and I think it's going to be a very different fight from the Kevin Holland fight. We move to Mayra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson. I'm going to go with Macy Chiasson in this fight. I just think that, I think it's going to be a real struggle for Mayra Bueno Silva to find any success in this fight. I don't think she's going to be able to find a lot of, like, ninja chokes in the clinch because of the height disadvantage. She's going to struggle on the feet heavily because of the reach disadvantage. I mean, she's got a lot of stuff going against her in this fight. I think Macy Chiasson is just going to be able to implement her game plan a lot better than Mayra Bueno Silva is going to be able to implement hers. And even then, Mayra Bueno Silva, we haven't really seen her beat anyone all that great in the UFC. Besides the Holly Holm fight, which eventually got overturned to a no contest because she popped, what was it for? She got popped hot for, I don't even know what the fuck that is. Ritalinic acid? I know I butchered that first word, but I don't even know. Yeah. I just think that Mayra Bueno Silva, where she exceeds exponentially well, she's not going to be able to exceed exponentially well against a guy like Macy Chiasson. Did I say guy? Fuck. Against a gal like Macy Chiasson. And I think Macy Chiasson is going to make this fight look like a girl versus guy fight. And she's going to fucking tee off on Mayra Bueno Silva, who we've seen get kind of teed off on the feet. Because her striking isn't really all that great. It's very wild, very loose. Not a lot of technical ability. Macy Chiasson, like, besides the Raquel Pennington loss, like Irene Aldana, in that fight, she was beating the shit out of Irene Aldana from what I remember. Am I remembering that fight correctly? I feel like she was just she was kind of fucking her up in that fight. Do I misremember this fight? It was on the main card from what I remember. Yeah, she was kind of beating her up. Maybe not. Maybe not as much. But she was grappling. I think she was winning. Because the knockdown from Yeah, that's from the up kick to the liver. It was total bullshit. Anyways, Macy Chiasson, I don't think she's going to grapple heavily with Mayra Bueno Silva. If she does, she might get subbed, if I'm being honest. She has very long arms, so Mayra Bueno Silva might be able to latch up some bullshit. She also has long legs, and we've seen Mayra Bueno Silva get knee bars before. She rolls around pretty heavily, but we've also seen Mayra Bueno Silva kind of just lay on her back in moments and kind of just give up. So Macy Chiasson, I think she's going to win a dominant decision, 30-27. Mayra Bueno Silva, I think she's going to drop down in the rankings again. And we move to the featured fight, Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Roman Dolidze. Listen, bro, I'm going to go with Roman Dolidze, if I'm being honest, dude. Hear me out. I think Roman's going to be in better shape for this fight, if I'm being honest. Because Roman Dolidze's had some fights fall out recently. How many fights has he's had? The Michelle Pereira fight, that was weird. And then he had Anthony Hernandez as well. Like, he's been in training camp a couple of times. Anthony Smith is coming off the Vitor Petrino performance in May 4th to be exact, against Vitor Petrino. He got a sub. Anthony Smith looked bad on the feet. Besides his low kicks, he looked dog shit. Anthony Smith, I don't know what it is. He really leaves openings against, like, really bad fighters. I don't know what it is. It's like the worse the striker you are, the better you have a chance of clipping Anthony Smith, because he looks pretty fucking slow right now. And that's weird because Roman Dolidze might actually be older. The miles are getting to him, man. He's taking a shit ton of damage. I think if Roman Dolidze lands clean once, we saw him unsettle Marvin Vettori with his power, which we know how good his fucking head is. Pause, man. Fuck. I gotta let it go. Let it go. We know how strong his head. God! We know how durable. Thank you. We know how durable Marvin Vettori is. And Roman Dolidze was landing power punches on him and sending him all the way back. Anthony Smith, his legs are shot. His head is shot. He has so much damage. He has 10 KO losses, bro. 10! How many of his losses in the UFC are by knockout? 3. 4. He also has a lot of subs. A lot of sub losses. And Roman Dolidze, for whatever reason, just does not use his BJJ in the UFC. Refuses to. He used like a really cool like calf slicer position on Jack Hermanson. I don't think there's going to be a huge size advantage for Anthony Smith. Roman Dolidze is a big fucking middleweight. Roman Dolidze, Nazarene Nimavov's quicker than Anthony Smith. Marvin Vettori was able to make that fight ugly. Trevin Giles, I never watched that fight, and I don't plan on it, because that fight was, how old? Fucking 5? Not 5, was it 6? It was only 3 years ago, Jesus. Holy. But, yeah, I think Roman Dolidze, his power is immense, and Anthony Smith, a guy who has suffered so much damage in his career, going against a guy that literally, like, shatters skulls, I don't think it's going to fare well. If he's able to unsettle Marvin Vettori, he's going to beat the brakes off of Anthony Smith. Not literally. If the fight goes to decision, Anthony Smith is winning because Roman Dolidze's cardio is kind of shit. But, actually, Roman Dolidze might be able to out-damage Anthony Smith in certain positions. Grappling, I don't know. I think Anthony Smith probably has better wrestling, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is pretty close because Roman Dolidze has very underrated BJJ. I'm picking Roman Dolidze, first round KO, lock it in. We move to Brian T-City Ortega versus Diego Lopez. And again, if you watch my previous video, I'm going Diego Lopez. I think that Diego Lopez is just a better Brian Ortega. If you guys know what I mean by that, I think he just does whatever Brian Ortega does better, if not the same, if not better, is what I meant. Diego Lopez, Brian Ortega is, of course, I think the size is really going to fuck with Brian Ortega. Because Diego Lopez he's a big fucking featherweight, man. I really struggle to believe he might even miss weight. I think he might, if I'm being honest. Did he make weight against Movsar, or was that at catchweight? Was that at catchweight? I have a feeling it might have been. Let me check. Was it catchweight? No, it was featherweight. He weighed in at 140. Nah, he's making weight. Fuck that. Brian Ortega, the people he struggles with are people who have just the striking advantage, really. All of his losses come from, besides the first Yair one where he fucking had the injury, Max and Volk just had severe striking differentials against Brian Ortega. And I think Diego Lopez is going to have a significant striking advantage in this fight. And I think he's going to have a huge power advantage, too. Diego Lopez has star-shocking power in his hands. And Brian Ortega, for the first time in his career against Yair Rodriguez, to my knowledge, he got dropped like twice in that first round. He's also super injury-prone, is Brian Ortega. He's had so many surgeries. And Diego Lopez, even in the BJJ department, he's fucking stellar with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see how Brian Ortega wins this. Maybe if Diego Lopez gets to the third round, maybe Brian Ortega wins by sub. Maybe in the third round. I think Diego Lopez should just keep it standing for as long as possible. Just beat the shit out of Brian Ortega. That's what he should do. How many losses by sub does Diego Lopez have? None. Wow, that's shocking. Who's knocked him out? He's been subbed in like BJJ tournaments, but was his first 2 losses by knockout? He got knocked out by this dude, and he got knocked out by one of these guys. Yeah, I don't think Brian Ortega has the technical ability to knock out Diego Lopez either. And Brian Ortega is super durable. Don't get me wrong, but we only know that he's durable because we've seen him get his ass whooped so many times. We've seen him in so many dogfights. And Diego Lopez is kind of making it a thing of his to do extremely well in dogfights. And we've already seen him grapple with, like, Movsar Evloev. So, yeah, I don't know. I struggle to believe. You know what I mean? I struggle to believe Brian Ortega is going to be fit. He's going to be ready for a fight like this. I mean, he injured his ankle. Like, how severe was that ankle injury? You know what I mean? So, Diego Lopez, I hate... Is he going to knock out Brian Ortega? No way, right? No way. I'll go unanimous decision, Diego Lopez, 29-28. I think Brian Ortega is a little bit too durable to get knocked out by Diego Lopez, but I think that it's going to be brutal to watch. We move to the main event. Alex Poatan Pereira versus Yuri Procházka. You can tell by I'm going with Alex, but I'm not crazy confident. If there is any time for Yuri to beat Alex Pereira, it is definitely right now. There's a lot of differences going into this fight. Alex Pereira, of course, has the toe injury. It's on short notice. He honestly doesn't look in crazy shape from the images that I'm... Let me recheck those. Let me see if I'm remembering that correctly. He doesn't look in insane shape. Yeah. But... And neither does Yuri, to be fair. But I think that... And honestly, in the first fight, Alex, besides leg kicks and the knockdown, of course, wasn't having too much crazy success. Yuri Procházka, honestly, with the hands, was doing way better. But I just think that Yuri ate a lot of shots in his last fight against Alexander Rakic. So honestly, I think that there's no way he didn't suffer a concussion, if I'm being honest. There's no way he didn't suffer it. From that one elbow, no fucking way he didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I just think Yuri leaves too many openings. His hands are down too low. And when he comes in, his chin's up in the air. I think Yuri, this is a 50-50 fight, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm being honest. There's a high chance that either of these guys gets knocked out in the first or second round. This fight is ending in KO, by the way. If this goes to decision, these new gloves need to be fucking kicked out. They need to get exfilled out of the UFC. But there's no way this fight goes to decision. Alex looked really good in the Jamal Hill fight. It's a different fight, though, right? Yuri looked kind of bad in the Rakic fight. He did. He ate a bunch of shots. Yuri's so fucking wild, though, man. His angles he fights at are nuts. He caught Alex with a couple of uppercuts. He honestly rocked Alex Pereira in the first fight. He also grappled a little bit. Man. Alex is working on the grappling so much, though, now. Yeah, I'll go with Alex Pereira first round KO, but I'm not super confident. I think it's too fairy tale of an ending if Yuri beats him. I think it's too fairy tale for him to win the title. I think it is. I think with the way that left hook that he landed on Yuri wasn't even good. And it dropped him. Yeah, I don't know. I think Alex is just a little too scrappy. Or Yuri is a little too scrappy. My bad. I think the technical striking ability from Alex, I think the leg kicks, Yuri Procházka didn't get to condition wasn't able to get a good training camp in. His legs are going to get fucking tarnished in this fight. Yeah, I don't know. Alex Pereira, first round KO. Lock it in. I'm UFC Thoughts. These have been my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC 303. Pereira vs. Procházka 2 on June 29th, 2024. My confident picks reside with Peyton Talbot, Ian Machado Gary, and in the co-main event, Diego Lopez. My pre-card rating is an 8 out of 10. Everyone was hoping to get, a Conor McGregor main event, but I think you cannot deny that Alex Pereira, Yuri Procházka 2 is fucking sick. And along with Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez. Insane card. Yeah, I cannot wait to watch this shit. Let's hope everyone makes weight. I'm recording this video prior to weigh-ins, so I might actually have to change some of the video, because I'm not re-recording the end bit. I don't give a shit. But yeah, let's hope everyone makes weight. Let's have a good night of fights on the 29th. Alright. I'll see you guys for my UFC 303 recap after the fights are done, so I'll see you guys after the fights. Peace.